Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Thursday edition of the Computer America Show. It's our all Linux show with our Linux correspondent Marcel Gagné. We are set to go, so sit back, relax, enjoy the show. It's all about Linux tonight on Computer America. I muted you, Marcel. Sorry. It's okay.
Nothing personal. Or it might be.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And, I'm still recovering from E3 last night. It was a terrific show.
I know, that jet lag, it'll get you.
Yeah, well, but it is the second Thursday of the month. That means it's time for our All Linux Show. Yes, our All Linux Show. Everything you want to know about Linux and more, tonight is the show for you. It's all about Linux and everything you ever want to know about Linux. If you have a Linux question, comment, suggestion, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call at 347-884-8881. 347-884-8881. I'll get you on and get you through. Email. No email, but there's a chat room. Go to ComputerAmerica.com and click on the pull-down menu. It says Show Lounge/chat. It'll take you to one of the screens there. If you hover over it, you can go to the full chat screen if you like. We have it set up that way. But you can join us. We have lots of people in the chat room willing and ready to discuss the topic of Linux tonight. And also, when you're there, you'll be able to watch the show. That's right, you heard me correctly, because not only are we a live radio talk show, we also stream much of our content with live video. You can see me, you can see Ben, you can see our guest, you can see everything. And Ben, of course, has that really cool green screen technology. So when we talk about websites tonight, you'll actually be able to see them displayed. With Ben in the little Ben's head right in the lower right.
So you still get the magnificence. You just get a miniature version of it along with all the cool websites.
That's right. So you get to see everything. So it's a lot of fun, and we certainly encourage you to join us at the Computer America website. All these things available to you, our listeners, at ComputerAmerica.com. Tomorrow night, of course, we're going to have our social media winner of the week standing by. So if you haven't subscribe to any of the social media pages that we host. I'm talking about the Facebook page, the YouTube, the Pinterest, all the different ones that we have up there. Do it, because then it'll get you into the weekly show drawing. We'd love to give prizes away to you, our listeners at Computer America. So, as I said, I'm still recovering from last night's E3 show. We had Nathan Evans, managing editor of Pop Center Magazine. We had Josh Boykin. We had a whole group of people talking about E3. But now,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was great watching the videos in the background that you were demonstrating. Ben was almost hypnotic. I was drawn into it. So it just added to the experience. But now we're going to draw you in with a different set of really cool things, and that is introducing to you our guest for this evening, Marcel Gagné. He is the author of several books, including Moving to Linux, Kiss the Blue Screen of Death Goodbye, now in its second edition. Other books Marcel has written include Moving to Ubuntu Linux, and his newest title is Moving to Free Software. He was also a Linux Journal monthly columnist. His column was titled Cooking with Linux. Marcel was also a regular columnist for Linux Magazine. He was senior editor and columnist for Ubuntu Magazine and a number of other ones as well. Please welcome author and columnist and now Computer America correspondent Marcel Gagné to the Computer America Show. Hey, Marcel, welcome into Computer America. And we can't hear you. For some reason, why don't you unmute yourself?
Well, I'm not the one who muted me. Somebody else muted me. I blame Ben.
Well, yeah, that was all this that stuff going on, so we just muted you temporarily. We figured. Anyway, how you doing, my friend? What's going on?
I'm doing just great. Thank you very much. It's nice to be back on the show. I think I was the first Linux correspondent on the show, wasn't I?
Ben, I think
Way back in the day?
Way back
Probably.
in the day, in the before time, when the Earth was still young and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, I think so. When
Yeah.
dinosaurs ruled the earth,
Yeah, exactly.
Dinosaurs on your picture, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, I was almost about to make an off-color joke there, but I resisted. I resisted. Hey, listen. I just wanted to point out as well. I put in the for somebody who wants to just get an idea of what I'm reading in terms of Linux and open source. I posted a link to my Flipboard magazine.
Wow.
If you've got my Cooking with Linux Flipboard magazine. I have actually several Flipboard magazines, and I won't tell you about all of them at this moment. But I have one, oddly enough, called Cooking with Linux, where I basically track things that amuse me and interest me and so forth in Linux and open source. So if people are interested in finding out what it is that's interesting me at any given moment, that's a good one to check out, and that's actually in the chat room, and I know that you'll put it in the
Yes, and let me just tell you that if you want to follow along what we're doing tonight, just go to computeramerica.com and click on our All Linux show. That's right there on the home page there, and that'll take you to the page that we've dedicated to the show tonight. And not only do we have the live stream there, which is a great way to do that in the chat room, but also the topics that we're going to be talking about tonight, and some of them are links. We post those there as well. And any link that Marcel gives to us tonight, I will also include that in those notes, so you can see them later on in the program. So anyway, we're going to get started tonight, and I think first of all we have to ask you, what is the wine for this evening?
I just cracked open a new bottle, as you probably noticed. See, that's one of the reasons for being live. You get to watch a grown man drink online. I'm being very careful, just so everybody knows. I don't have a problem. I just happen to like my wine while I'm doing a radio show. It's a thing, okay? But tonight I'm actually drinking an Italian wine. It's a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, and this one is I have no idea. I've been told that this was a very inexpensive but actually surprisingly good wine. It's a brand name Citra. We're about to find out whether it's actually as good as I was told it was. So I've never tried this one before. I'm trying it now because it was recommended to me. Somebody said, try this one. It's frightfully inexpensive and it's actually frightfully good. So here goes.
Oh, and it's poison. What a twist. What a turn. My God.
And we just lost.
I don't know that it's spectacular, but it's good. It's actually a nice drinking wine. And there you go. Anyway, Italy. We're drinking Italy tonight. Italy. Speaking of drinking Italy, has anybody gone to see the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movie yet?
No, I have not seen Jurassic World yet. Ben, you haven't seen it either.
No. I have friends that are raving about it. It's on my list of things to do, but they love it.
I'm going to see it next week. I'm going to see it July 2nd. I mean, we're booked in to go see it July 2nd, and I figure, what's not to like? Dinosaurs chasing down and eating humans. I mean, it's just, it seems like the perfect movie, really. But I was just curious if you guys had actually seen it or not. Because we do that. We visit movies and in pop culture before we usually start talking about important things here.
Well, one thing that's a little bit of pop culture stemming from that whole, in the previews, it shows Chris Pratt, I guess, training velociraptors.
Yes.
is one of the scenes, and I just found this funny that here's an article from Viral. It had been catching on that hopefully as soon as it loads, as soon as that scene came out, zookeepers all over the world started recreating that pose, but with the animals that they take care of. So if you're watching our live video, you can see like a zookeeper here with a bunch of walruses. recreating the pose.
Okay.
There's a zookeeper here with a bunch of penguins. Same thing. It's just it became viral in a community I did not even know of, which is the zookeeper community.
Who knew there was a zookeeper community? I mean, you kind of have there's a community for everything. Okay, I just posted a link. You're gonna have to see that. You ever watched Robot Chicken?
Yes.
Okay, this is the Velociraptor Robot Chicken video. It's like 1 minute and 23 seconds long or something like that. It's really short. It's freaking hilarious. Are you gonna play it? Are you gonna play it?
Yeah, no volume or anything like that. And again, this is from Robot Chicken, but yeah, they always have really good.
1 Velociraptor, 2 Velociraptor, 3 Velociraptor. Velociraptor 3, where are you? It's great. It's wonderful stuff.
Yeah, they always have great promos for movies.
All right. Hey, listen. Let's talk Linux.
This was so much fun. By the way, every time you post a link, we update the link in the on our notes there, so you can see it. Not only if the link is an actual video, which this one is, it'll actually display the video on there, ready for you to click on. So if you go to computeramerica.com, just click on Marcel's show tonight. And you go all the way down, you'll see everything that he's posting there. We update them as he posts them. Okay. Anyhow, getting back to the topics at hand, and we're going to kind of start tonight. We're going to start talking about what the fact that it's been 1 month since you dumped Ubuntu and installed Ozymandias. Okay, so tell us about that.
Well, you remember a month ago I gave you 2 new Linux distributions that I was taking a look at. I decided to, I usually try to talk about a couple of new Linux distributions and, something you should try, something you should play with. Because let's face it, it's one of the things about Linux, there's, we think there are multiple versions of Windows. There really aren't. There are different times that they come out, but really there's just Windows. There's the Windows, it's this year it's Windows 10 that's coming out, and before that it was Windows 8.1, and then we had Windows 8 and so forth. But in the Linux world, they're like countless distributions. It's almost scary actually to think about how many Linux distributions are out there, and the reason, of course, is that everyone is allowed to roll their own. To start from a code base that somebody else is already working with, and make their own distribution. And every once in a while, and the people that have been, following me on my Wolf to Lug, my Linux user group, my online Linux user group, know this very well. Every few months, I get bored. I can't commit. Every few months, I need to play the field and check out a new. Sounds terrible when you put it that way, but I need to check out a new Linux distribution, and I just go whole hog. I go nuts. I quite literally overwrite what I've already got on my PC, which I realize is insane, but I erase everything except, of course, my data partition. My data partition stays the same, so my home directory /home/Marcel, that stays the same. But I throw away the Linux distribution and I start from scratch because I want to see what other people are working on. I want to get a feel for. I don't want to just look at it. I want to live it. I want to feel it and so forth. And I've used Red Hat and OpenSUSE and Kubuntu and Ubuntu and Gentoo and Slackware. I mean, Red Hat, Fedora. Over the years, I've tried tons of different Linux distributions. You look like you're going to say something, Craig.
Yeah, I know that for a fact. If you're just kind of torn between all these different.
Well, yeah, and someone who has only dabbled, like Ubuntu and Mint, and that's all I've done. But what is the point of using all that? Like, is it not just a different kind of skin over the same operating system? Like, what are the real differences you're finding between all these?
Well, kernel's the same, right?
Well, under the surface, there's an operating system that's the same, but you've got to remember, because the people who spin these distributions, who put these distributions together, actually have access to the source code and to the package repositories and so forth, they get to decide what they think, what they feel is best of breed, and that can be the desktop environment. As as most people know, I love KDE/Plasma. That's my desktop of choice, but that doesn't mean that every once in a while I don't boot into something different. I mean, I will boot into a GNOME desktop, or I will boot into a Unity desktop. I happen to really like the Cinnamon desktop. So there are a lot of different desktop environments, and it's not just skinning. They literally feel different. The way you work with them is different. The way that they respond in terms of putting applications up on the desktop feels differently, or feels different. So it makes a difference, because you get to see what's best of breed, in those different environments. One will have a different default audio player, for instance, so the experience of having access to your digital music is going to be a little bit different. Another one will have a different default browser, and you might think that they use just Chrome, but maybe they'll use Chromium, with specific extensions, or or not having specific extensions. Maybe they'll have Firefox, or they'll spin their own version of Firefox in the case of some distributions. Maybe they'll use an alternate browser entirely. So it's kind of fun to see what people do. And of course, skinning, as you put it, shows people's creativity.
Mm-hmm. But it rarely gets to the point where they're actually going in and changing how the operating system actually works with your computer. Like you're not going to find a majority of Linux distributions out there that are going to change the way your computer works. Maybe it runs a little bit faster because it does so and so on the firmware level. Like it's most of these distributions are what comes shipped with it software-wise, and how does it look aesthetically. Like
I'm going to disagree a little tiny bit. I'm going to disagree a little tiny bit because I'll give you an example. Sound. Okay, sound on the system. People will use a different sound environment. This may not seem like much, but it has a lot to do with frankly what it sounds like, how it's going to sound, just how responsive what you're listening to is, and so forth. Whether it clicks in and out, or whether it can manipulate multiple audio streams intelligently simultaneously. One example, one of the things that drives me crazy, I love Ubuntu/Kubuntu. I keep going back to them. I go back to them every year. Every year for a period of some months, I'm going to be running some version of Ubuntu/Kubuntu. But one of the things that drives me absolutely freaking bananas is they go a little overboard in protecting your CPU. Okay, you're thinking, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, it's a bad thing because my fan is running all the time on my notebook, and I hate that. There's always this sound of the fan running. Well, right now, I decided that I would try, for fun, something vastly different, or what I felt was vastly different, and I went with Netrunner, which, again, is, what's the word I'm looking for? The looks of it is very different. They've made it quite beautiful. It's actually a really slick, gorgeous Linux distribution, with people that, we're looking at the aesthetics in a big way, but the fan is quiet on my notebook. This may not seem like much, but this is at the kernel level. These are parameters that they decided to tweak. You can't.
I thought you could tweak just about anything. They don't give you a parameter where you can speed or slow up the fan or adjust it at all.
You can, but I don't necessarily want to do that myself all the time. Okay, and remember, I'm not looking at it when I do this. I'm not looking at it strictly from my perspective. I'm looking at it from the perspective of people I want to talk to, and people I want to, say, hey, maybe you should try out this particular Linux distribution, and so forth. So for me, yes, it's fun. Yes, I want to try it. Yes, I could tweak all these parameters, but I also want to look at things that I could, give to my parents or give to my friend. Hey, what Linux distribution would you recommend this month? Well, I'd say that maybe you should try this one out. This one is really pretty awesome. And over time, I've routinely changed what I recommend to people. I have recommended Ubuntu, Kubuntu. I've recommended for people who are more interested in that stable, businessy, business-like feel, OpenSUSE, which tends to be, a very corporate-looking desktop. I've recommended Linux Mint, for the users that don't want to have to load various codecs, and proprietary file formats and so forth, so that they can just, load it up and run it. They want the Java runtime environment to be already in place and so forth. And that's the sort of thing that Linux Mint does very nicely. But that doesn't mean that somebody else hasn't figured out a way to make these things a little bit better, that haven't figured out a way to provide some, more interesting default packages. It's not a big deal for me that my Linux distribution doesn't have Steam, for instance, the Steam game engine. At some point tonight I want to talk about Steam. But it's nice when a distribution just includes it.
Okay.
So if I'm giving it to a friend of mine and I don't have to say, hey, you got to go and download, the Java runtime environment, you got to go and download the proprietary codecs so that you can play the proprietary file formats of different types. You don't have to go and download, this and that, and you don't have to download the Steam engine. You don't have to download any of these things. It's already included in the distribution. That's a nice selling point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The people in the chat room seem to have settled on many different distributions are specialized and they're optimized for a lot of different situations that you just don't get with any other operating system. Like not every one of them is going to be meant to run on a netbook, but hey, at least Linux does have options to run on a netbook.
That's true. So there are distributions that are going to be, there are distributions that are multimedia distributions, so that you can run a media center at home, play movies and videos on your television. There are some that are security paranoid distributions that are very specific. I have not had a chance to. I wanted to actually take it out for a spin, but I didn't get the time to actually try that one. But there's Edward Snowden's Linux distribution. I call it Edward Snowden's because that's the one that he carries around with him. But it's called Tails. And I actually mentioned it. You know this because I mentioned it in the list there. Tails stands for the Amnesic Incognito Live System. Okay? And it's a Linux distribution that doesn't leave a trace. So you're surfing, It doesn't keep any history, it uses Tor and VPNs to to traverse the internet and so forth, and you keep the thing on a USB key. So if you go to, I don't know, do they still have internet cafes? You go to an internet cafe, or you go over to somebody's house, and you want to be able to communicate from somebody's house, but you want it to be private, and you don't want your communications to appear like they're coming from somebody's house, which might be important to you if you're, I don't know, say Edward Snowden. You would use a distribution like this, and that one is Tails. For people who are looking for that one, is Tails, Tails, as in tails on an animal. Tails.boum.org, and it's a very specific distribution rolled for a very specific purpose. There are distributions that are server-centric. It doesn't mean that you can't load a graphical desktop, but they have optimized the environment so that it handles things like, DNS services or email transports or secure communications, and so, in a way that is, that's very finely tuned to a server in a server environment.
Ben?
Makes sense?
Yeah,
Ben is nodding.
sense.
I thought he was trying to jump in, so I shut up. So he could
No. My mic was muted that time. That was my bad. No, makes perfect sense. It's it's always been bugging me. It's like they make all these, and I guess having an attitude like yours would help in that situation because again they're not all optimized for everyone across the board, but hey, you have options. Yay, Linux.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk. For the people that might be tuning in the first time, or for the people that need a refresher, one of the wonderful things about Linux distributions is that most of them, 99% of them, you can get free for a download. If you can't get free for download, as in the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, if you were totally nuts, you could you could download all the source packages and build them and have an official distribution anyway, which is what CentOS. If you want to download CentOS, it's Red Hat Enterprise Linux, but white boxed. But the beauty is you burned it onto a DVD or you burned it onto a CD, and we did this. Who is it that did this? Somebody did this on the last show and booted up and came back online to.
Oh yeah,
that was Fort.
That was Fort. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Fort, by the way, is not with us tonight. He sent his note.
Aw.
He won't be with us tonight. He'll be back with us tomorrow. But yes, he did actually do it while we were on the show.
That's right. He did it live. He burnt an ISO, like he downloaded an ISO. He burnt it to a DVD, booted up, and came back on, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's awesome because you can actually take these things out for a test drive. So the Linux distributions that we talk about on the show, whether it's Linux Mint, whether it's Netrunner or Tails or something like that, download the image, burn it to a DVD, and boot up off the sucker, or or copy it over to a USB key if you're Edward Snowden and you want to carry it around in your pocket. Am I allowed to mention Edward Snowden on the show? Is that okay in the U.S.?
We're still looking for him ourselves, but yeah, no, sure, go ahead.
Yes, I'm talking from north of the border, so I'm not sure what the rules are down there sometimes,
Anyway,
So, okay.
anyway,
Go ahead.
what I was going to say is that any link or anything you mention, if you want it in the show notes, then put it in the chat room. Okay. Otherwise, if it's not in the chat room, I won't put it in on the show notes. So.
Okay, so I have to do this. It's in my show. Well, if you copied it, it's in the show notes, but I have to do it. Okay, you ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things. The hand that mocked them and the heart that fed, and on the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." And of course, that's Percy Bysshe Shelley, who wrote that poem ages ago. Ozymandias, King of Kings, which is Ramses II, which was the longest ruling pharaoh in ancient Egypt. I think he lived into his 90s or something like that.
And he used Linux. So
and he did. In fact, he's the one that foresaw that someday in the future we would be running a Linux distribution called Ozymandias. Anyway, that's what I've been running. Okay, so a month later, after saying, hey, I might just dump Kubuntu and run Ozymandias. Now, I made a mistake. I want to point out that I made a mistake.
All right.
You're saying Marcel, you made a mistake? I made a mistake. If you go to the Netrunner website for the Linux distribution, I actually said that I was going to try the rolling distribution. Well, as it turns out, I downloaded the Ozymandias 16. There are two versions. I didn't know that at the time. Two versions. I didn't know that at the time. And one of them is actually based on Ubuntu. So I blew it. I actually went...
You went back to your safety net.
It's not quite exactly the same because, again, there are different applications, and as Ben likes to say, skins. But it turns out that I did not, in fact, download the rolling distribution. So I hang my head in shame.
That's okay.
But I didn't realize it until like 2 weeks later. It's like, crap, I didn't download the right one. Oh, well. But I am still running Netrunner. It's beautiful. I highly recommend that you give it a try.
All right. And
all right.
Gave us a link for that, right?
Okay. I did.
All right.
I did. Well, certainly. No. Oh, there you go. See, it's got the pretty picture, and it's got some really nice desktop art too. If you want.
In the chat room, you gave us a link in the chat room, right? I just wanted to make sure.
Somebody did. Somebody did. Did somebody do it?
Oh,
okay. Awesome.
All right.
I run CentOS at work. And just a reminder, if you're in the chat room and you have questions, please, by all means, ask questions. If you're out there and you want to call into the show, please, by all means. Are you supposed to do that, Craig? Should I actually be saying that?
I haven't done it, but I will do it again. 347-884-8881. I'll get you through. Okay. Any questions you have for Marcel tonight?
All right. So there's another Linux distribution out there.
Yeah.
Okay. There are hundreds of Linux distributions out there, but there's another Linux distribution out there, and I decided after some prodding by a couple of people that every once in a while somebody prods me, and says, Marcel, you have to actually try this. So I decided to try the other Linux distribution. The other Linux distribution, the up-and-coming Linux distribution, the one that people are running by the millions out there, and they don't even know they're running it. Okay, is anybody want to jump in? Drum roll.
No idea.
Chromebook.
Chromebook.
Chromebook. A Chromebook is actually a Linux distribution. You're actually running a fine-tuned, here we go again, with the fine-tuned Linux distribution for a specific breed of device. So I decided to go out and buy a Chromebook. I bought a Chromebook. Specifically, it is an Acer Chromebook 11 CB3-111. It's a frightfully inexpensive little device, probably cheaper for you Americans, but but up here in Canada it sells for about $250. I got it on sale at $229. I know you guys get it for $169. I really don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. Google just likes America better. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
maybe.
It's always been it's something to do with that the exchange rate and so forth.
Yeah, like you guys pay more for books. I don't even know how you guys do it. I
don't know either. We're so used to it.
You save so much money on your healthcare though that it's like a wash.
We do. Actually, it is a wash. I mean, a few years ago. Here's a little side trip. I've got a little scar on my neck.
Actually,
a few years ago, I had thyroid cancer.
Actually, we had to take a little break, and then we scar. This is the Computer America show. It's our all Linux show with the Marcel Gagné as he takes another sip.
We have one break an hour, and it always catches us.
Yes,
it's crazy.
We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-866-663-MyTV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So, disable the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-866-663-MyTV right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99 and up to 4 rooms. And there's no equipment to buy. That includes your free HD TV upgrade, your free DVR upgrade, and your free professional installation. And the best part, the pristine digital picture and sound. Call 1-866-663-MyTV. So, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-866-663-MyTV. 1-866-663-MyTV. Disable the cable, cut costs, and get more. Call 1-866-663-MyTV. 1-866-663-MyTV.
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PPA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? That's so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they are available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
I hope you're old enough for this next bit. It's Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America, this time the Elevate Grill. It's roughly the size and shape of a carry-on bag with a broad, flat base and a big square handle up top, but this case can pack a lot of heat because Elevate Grill is a folding, toteable 2-burner gas grill. It uses propane in a bottle, the 16.4-ounce canister you may see on a torch used to solder pipes, for example. When you separate the handles and swing them down, they become support legs for the 2 flat grill sections that hinge down to horizontal. Behind their grates are square burners with a AAA cell-powered ignition spark gap on each. The gas bottle connects anew for each use and stows inside between uses, an arrangement enforced by a separate regulator connection designed to not travel well when it's connected. Each of the 2 grates is roughly a foot square, so if you're feeding 1 to 6 people, you may be able to cook it all in one pass. Bottom line, the Elevate Grill is a cool new way to make gas grilling a portable feast. Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Thank you, Marty Winston, for that News Tip Bulletin review. You'll be hearing that particular one more time before it goes into the vault forevermore.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is he doing, Marcel?
What's that?
It's Super Grover.
It's Super Grover.
Super Grover. And actually, that brings us back to our segue, which is, what was your side story again?
Okay, it's actually not a sad story, but you know, I've got this little scar on my neck because 10 years ago, actually a little over 10 years ago, I got thyroid cancer, which, you know, untreated would kill you. Well, as it turns out, you know, this is actually, by the way, a good reason to have a regular physical. Go see your doctor every couple of years, and you know, or every year, and make sure that you're in tip-top physical shape. I hadn't been for 3 years, and I would see my doctor, and she was, you know, I was worried that she would talk about the fact that I could lose a few pounds. I walked in, and she said, you know, you could lose a few pounds. I'm like, crap. At least I got that over with. And she's feeling around my neck, and she goes, how long has that been there? And I said, how long has what been there? And it turned out that, you know, I had cancer. Anyway, so I had thyroid cancer. Well, I'm in Canada, okay, so I went through a whole batch of tests, saw various specialists, went to the hospital, had an operation that lasted 5.5 hours, was in the hospital for the next 3 days and so forth, and it cost me nothing.
Wow.
So
it cost you nothing and saved your life.
Oh, Canada, baby.
And we're glad that you found it. Good on you.
Just want to point that out. So I may have to pay a little bit more for my Chromebook, but damn it, it's worth it. Okay. Anyway.
But well, you know, I did find the Chromebook. If you're watching the video again, you know, this is the particular one that you're talking about.
That's correct.
And by the way, it's $149. So. Yeah.
Damn you! Damn you all to hell! I'm channeling Charlton Heston here. Damn you all to hell!
So you got this, and first of all, can you install a different operating system on this, or?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you can.
Okay.
Yes, it sounds insane, but yes, you can. And in fact, it's one of the attraction, you know, among Linux users. Part of the attraction is that you can take this little netbook and install a Linux distribution. I mean, you could install Ubuntu on it and so forth. There's a quasi distribution called Crouton. I should find you the link, Crouton, which you can install on a Chromebook. Now, a Chromebook is locked down in the same way that your Android phone is locked down, but you can you can decide to install software that doesn't come from the Play Store. What you have to do is you have to enable developer options in the settings for the Android phone, and then you have to say that you're willing to install software from unknown sources. As it turns out, on the Chromebook, on almost all of maybe all of these Chromebooks, who knows, certainly the Intel-based ones anyway, if you want, you can do the same thing. You can turn on developer options, and if anybody wants to know how to do that, you hit the escape key, and then you hit the refresh key, which would be F3, and you hit the power button. And when you do that, it goes up into the bootloader, so to speak. And once there, you hit Control-D, and once you do Control-D, you've unlocked the bootloader. And be warned, it will erase and reinstall your Chromebook software from scratch. So essentially, it'll be like you just bought it. And so if you've actually stored anything locally on the Chromebook, which, you know, most people don't. I mean, that's not the point of a Chromebook. It will get erased. So just be aware of that. But at that point, you can have access to the Chrome shell, the extended Chrome shell, and you can install Linux distribution using Crouton. So I think it's Chrouton. I should maybe somebody can. Ben, you're the man. Ton Chromebook. Crouton. It's CROU. Easily install Linux on Chromebook with Crouton. Here, hey, there's actually a Linux tutorial here. I'll give you a link in the. But anyway, that allows you to install a Linux distribution. So for $150, you know, you've got an amazingly. $150? Are you serious?
Yeah.
At that price, you've got an amazingly inexpensive Linux, Linux desktop. But as I started pointing out, the Chromebook, you know, and Chrome OS is the other Linux distribution. We don't really think about it, and people don't even know they're running Linux, but that's actually what you're running. if there's somebody out there who's running a Chromebook at the moment and they've never tried this, go Control-Alt-T, and Control-Alt-T will actually open up Crush, which is the Chrome OS shell. It's a limited shell from which you can run a few simple commands like ping and trace path, to make sure that your network is working properly. You can also run top to see which applications. Top is a process viewer, so that you can find out which processes are using up a lot of memory, or which ones are using up most of your CPU time, and so that's available to you. But there are only a few things if you're using the Chrome shell that way. If you actually want to get to an extended shell or do anything bigger, then you're going to have to unlock the bootloader and go into it that way. Now, I haven't done that on this one because, as we were talking about earlier, I wanted the experience of running this particular distribution as it's meant to be run.
And did it, blow you away? Did it make you sad? Did it keep you up at night? How did it do?
I have to admit, I'm fairly impressed. It's for the people out there who are listening and who are thinking about doing this, you have to understand right off the bat that this is kind of a web-centric device. It's sort of like your tablet, except for the fact that it's a notebook. It's a notebook computer, but it's like your tablet in the sense that there's only so much onboard storage. This thing has 16 gigabytes of onboard storage, of which I think like 8 is already taken up by the operating system and everything that's on it. So you really don't have a lot of local storage. But the idea, because let's face it, it's a Google device, is that you're going to use Google Drive to store your files. You're going to use Google Docs to edit your documents. You're going to use Gmail to send and receive email. You're pretty much going to do everything online. And if you want applications that aren't there, you're going to have to look for the Chrome versions of those things. And those are, as Chrome extensions. So it boots up and it looks like you're looking at a Chrome browser with, a limited taskbar down at the bottom. You had the picture down there, Ben.
Oh, yeah.
Of the menu.
Let's see.
Yeah, you had the picture of the Chromebook that had the little pop-up menu there.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a little pop-up menu in the corner. The little pop-up menu has, actually a fair number of little applications that are already in there. I'm looking at it now. Google Plus, all the things that I've already loaded in my other Chrome browser on my regular Linux desktop, because of course Chrome does that. It pulls in all those things. But they put in things like Play Books and Play Movies and Play Music and Google Photos and basically the Google ecosystem. So you wind up with a whole Google ecosystem, Google Forms. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. No, it's very much like a mobile device, and I've been thinking about getting one for a while because even though I have a full-fledged desktop here, a lot of things that we do for the show and just a lot of personal things, I've been finding it easier and easier that, yes, I have a terabyte hard drive, but it's just so much more easier and convenient to load everything up into Google Drive, have all my emails in Gmail, and like this would a lot of people like this the Chromebook because it's a good extension for what they already have because it integrates so well.
Well, I kind of wondered about I did think, why would I want this device when I already have, I've got a 17-inch notebook here, which, you don't lug that thing around with you everywhere, but I have a 17-inch notebook. It's got a beautiful LED screen. It's powerful. It's got like 8 gigabytes of RAM. I think it's got a 750 gigabyte hard drive on it. It's got everything I need, but like you said, I'm increasingly using cloud services like Dropbox, like Google Drive. And, I'd like to keep all my files out there so that I can move from device to device, and always be able to access those things. And if I'm doing that anyway, the Chromebook fills a different kind of need. Now, I just want to point out, because I wanted to actually experience this to the fullest, I'm actually running from the Chromebook tonight. So I'm actually doing the show from the Chromebook.
Really?
Yeah. So I booted this. I haven't loaded anything unusual or strange. I haven't tweaked it at all. I'm using this thing like essentially out of the box, and it seems to work beautifully. I mean, I haven't had any problems with it or any issues. It's it's just this incredibly trouble-free device. Now, there are a couple of other amazingly wonderful things about this beyond the fact that it just works. Ask me what? Ask me what? Well, I take a sip of my wine.
What else could you possibly like about a Chromebook?
It's light. It's incredibly light. I can wander around the house with this thing. I mean, notebooks aren't as heavy as they used to be, but if you've got a 17-inch notebook, that sucker still weighs a fair bit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide that, I mean, I work from home, so I have an office in my basement, which is where I am. I'm in my office at the moment. But every once in a while, I like to see the sun. Go figure. So I'd like to go upstairs and maybe sit out on the deck, by the pool and work outside, or maybe I'd like to just go up in my living room and stretch out on the couch, and work from up there. The problem is that my 17-inch notebook goes for about an hour, maybe 90 minutes if I'm lucky, on a charge, especially if I'm doing a lot with it. That drops down dramatically. So then I'm left with dragging the power supply around with me. So I've got this cord hanging from this notebook that's on my lap. And what's the other problem, Ben? Come on, what's the other problem with having this thing on your lap?
Oh, well, the heat.
Bingo!
It roasts your chestnuts.
Well, I try to avoid putting it directly on my chestnuts, but it's hot. It's hot. The damn thing is hot. And that's an understatement. After a few minutes, you got to have something. So you prop it up. What do? You prop it up with a pillow or books or whatever, and it becomes increasingly uncomfortable. The Chromebook is cold. It just stays cool. There's no heat radiating from this thing. It's incredible. I'm touching it right now. It's like it's not on, other than the fact that it's actually on.
That's been a nice little side effect of the fact that it's not very powerful, which is, in its own right, it was never marketed to be powerful. But if it's not, if it's not using that much electricity, if it's not, doing anything too intensive, it's not, generating a lot of heat.
Well, and it's light. It's incredibly, incredibly light. I have a USB, a Bluetooth keyboard. So that I can use it with a tablet or something like that. I bought it a while ago. It weighs more than the damn Chromebook. Just the keyboard. The other thing about the Chromebook is it's silent. It's utterly, completely silent.
Does it come with a fan?
There's no fan.
No fan.
It has no fan. So
what's the case made of, by the way? Because I can see, like, let's say, aluminum getting hotter than plastic.
No, this thing's plastic.
Well,
oh,
that probably helps with the heat distribution, though.
Yeah, it's just a white plastic case. I'm not saying that it's gleaming metal. Somebody in the chat room actually said, you could buy the Chromebook Pixel and spend more. That's Craig in the chat room there. Those things aren't cheap. I mean, we're talking like $1,000 for a Chromebook Pixel, if I remember correctly. Except maybe in America, I don't know. Maybe there's 750 there. I don't know.
They're still expensive. They're still expensive.
It's a lot of money for that sucker. But yeah, this thing just works. It's a Linux desktop, and if I want to, I could. In fact, I may do that tomorrow. Maybe we'll talk about that next month. How I destroyed my Chromebook and loaded it up with an alternate Linux distribution. But I figured if I loaded it up with an alternate Linux distribution, I could load up Minecraft on it as well. So I could have this little tiny notebook, this little tiny thing that doesn't radiate any heat to speak of, has no fan in it, and I could sit out on the couch and work at Minecraft.
The important work still gets done anywhere. That's good. I like
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely.
So and just as an aside, trying to get back to the operating system of this whole thing. Chromixium, yeah, there we go. Is that open source as well?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh yeah. Well, sorry, you're jumping ahead to the other Linux distributions I was taking a look at.
Oh no. I thought Chromixium was the operating system running on. No, I'm sorry. That's Chromium. That's Chromium.
That's right. Chromium. Yeah. Well, no, actually, Chromium is the open source. This is where it gets really weird. Chromium is the open source version of the Google Chrome browser.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the operating system that's running on the Chromebook is Chrome OS.
Oh, okay.
Damn Google, it's like everything. You know, people used to make fun of KDE, the Plasma KDE desktop. Actually, before it was Plasma, it was just strictly the KDE desktop, which stands for KDE Desktop Environment. We do love our recursive acronyms, don't we? Um, they used to make fun of it because every application started with a K. You know, Kdevelop, Conqueror with a K. You know, K this, K that. You know, K anything you can possibly think of. They'd make fun of it. And now you've got Google. Everything is bloody play something, play movies, play music, play books, play store, you know, play with my head.
So like all of that, and what I meant to say, you know, not Chrome mixing, but is Chrome OS. Is that open source, or does Google keep that under lock and key?
Yes and no. I mean, it's available. There are development versions that are sitting out there. They have their own proprietary extensions, but it is a Linux distribution that's sitting under the surface. And like I said, I mean, if you want to open it up and just, you know, get a limited access, can you actually do that? Let's find out if you can do that on a regular. No, you can't do that. It only works on a Chromebook. Control-Alt-T to open up the Chrome OS developer shell. I like what it says. If you got here by mistake, don't panic. Just close this tab and carry on. Yeah, no, it's a Linux distribution. I mean, if you run top, you can see all the same. And you got to remember, in the Linux world, what you have to do to stay within the rules of the licenses, like for instance the GPL, the GNU Public License, nothing says that you have to distribute a binary. Okay, what they say is you have to distribute the source code. You have to feed the changes back into the community. Okay, so if you take an open source project like a Linux kernel or something like that, you have to be willing to return it back into the community. So yes, it is open source, but that doesn't mean that they're going to give you a binary. Now, I was chatting with someone a while back, and I suppose I should look this up because I haven't looked at it in a couple of months. But they were talking about making making Chrome OS available to other pieces of hardware that weren't specifically Chromebooks. So that would be kind of interesting.
Might be fun on a tablet because this thing is obviously a sort of mobile device, just in a clamshell keyboard wielding tablet kind of. So maybe on a more robust tablet.
But it's surprisingly nice, and honestly, I'm not sure that I would do it. I'm not sure that I would do it on a tablet. I might do it on a I might do it on like an old computer desktop or something like that, like an old notebook or something. But I'm not sure that I would do it on a tablet because that kind of defeats the whole portability aspect of it. Tablets already have their own Linux operating system called Android. They already have a keyboard built in. They've got soft keyboards. So I don't know that there's any need to recreate that environment. And in fact, one of the things that Google is working on, as you probably know, is running Android applications in Chrome.
Yes.
So that you could actually run Android applications on a Linux desktop, for instance. So.
Yes.
And presumably on a Windows desktop.
Yeah, just they're trying to make like Chrome the browser just so much more robust on any platform, and I guess that carries over into Chromebooks, that carries over into desktops, that carries over into pretty much anything. Like they're trying to make the Chrome browser just kind of its own operating system.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's getting. I'm not saying it's there, but they're going for it.
What I've enjoyed about working with Chrome OS and the Chromebook is that they've obviously tweaked the the Chrome browser so that it's the resources, the background resources that are necessary to run things have been severely limited. You got to remember, there's no desktop environment here. Okay, there's no classic desktop environment. Everything runs inside the Chrome browser. And if I'm running a full-fledged Linux distribution like I've got on my my Ozymandias notebook sitting over here, I've got the browser opened. I've got the Computer America website. I've got the all the various links that I've got are there. I've got Google Plus open. I've got the chat room open, so I can chat with other people. And leave this one open. Eventually, you've got like a whole whack of things running, and of course, you've got the graphical environment, right?
Yeah.
And it takes resources. It takes processor. It takes memory. It wears down your system, which is, by the way, one of the things that people are tweaking Linux distributions for.
Yeah.
I want a peppier system. I want something that's faster. Yeah, I can have shiny and slick and cool. But maybe I would prefer to have something that's incredibly peppy and fast and responsive, and have less of that bling.
Yeah, and Chrome is a great browser. I use it, and it does good things. But I will say that it's a resource hog, and I'm glad that they turned it down for such a lower. Here's my task manager for the computer that I'm using right now, and luckily there's only about 23 instances of Chrome running at one moment. So
luckily, only.
Yeah. So to say that Chrome is a resource hog, but I'm glad that they kind of stymied that on the Chromebook, because that could get out of hand really quick if they just did a one-to-one port.
Okay, I'm going to give you an extension. You're going to love me for this. Okay, it's called, oh yes, everybody, I'm the great. Oh, come on, you're old enough for this. Craig, you're old enough for this. Jump in. Oh yes, I'm the great.
Pretender.
Okay, actually, in this case, it's the great suspender. I'm going to give you the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat room right now.
I think I already got it.
Oh, have you got it already? Aren't you awesome?
There we go.
Aren't you awesome?
The great suspender.
The great suspender. I tried. This is actually pretty cool. There it is. This is a Google Chrome extension whose entire purpose in life is to put to sleep, so to speak, those Chrome tabs that you've got open, because you've got like 30, 40 Chrome tabs open if you're like me, but you're not looking at them. They're just sitting back there because you don't want to close them, and you're too damn lazy to bookmark them.
Yeah.
So you're going to, so they just sit there and they suck up resources, especially if they're running, God forbid, Flash. It sucks up your resources, and it gets slower and slower, and that fan, that god-awful fan, I sound like the Grinch, don't I? The noise. I hated Christmas, but I hated the noise even more.
With their flashes and their videos and their music.
I hate the fans. I hate the fan. I just want the fan to go away.
We love our fans.
Oh, well, a different type of fan. It's this fan you don't like.
That one.
We don't like that one.
All right, well, yeah, I'll thanks for turning me on to this. I'll definitely give it a try, because just like you, it sounds like I have 20 to 30 tabs open at any time, and I have a pretty good computer, but like you start noticing after like an extended browsing session, things start to slow down a little bit. Yeah.
And some of these applications, like I said, specifically Flash, if you've got some old style Flash applications, I don't know what they do with those things, but they start spinning in the background and sucking up more and more resources, and eventually the thing grinds to a halt, as much as I like Chrome.
So can I use this on my version of Chrome here for the Mac? Was it compatible?
No, because you use Firefox, you heathen.
No, I'm using Chrome. I'm using for my copy of Chrome, because I can install this in Chrome.
I don't know. I suspect that you can use the same extensions on a Mac. I'm not a Mac guru by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay.
Yeah, the Chrome browser is like its own kind of sandbox thing, so you can do like anything you can do on one. It should be like anything you do on a Windows should be okay on a Mac, because it kind of runs in its own environment.
Okay. Well, anyway, I've got Chrome, and I'm going to see if I can install it here.
All right. You can report back to us.
Yes, I will. Okay. Add to Chrome. That's what I'm going to do.
From the wilds of Macintosh.
It says add the great suspender. Yes, I'm going to add it.
Oh yes, I'm the great suspender.
I have no idea what you guys are even talking about.
Oh my goodness, Craig! Craig!
He failed.
You have to train this guy.
I know.
Oh man, I hate it, but Ben, you make me feel so incredibly old. It's just, and I'm younger than you are, which really bugs me.
Well, I don't know about all that, but so I kind of want to wrap this up here before we go on the other side of the hour. So to wrap up the Chromebook, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep this thing. The only thing I may do, and I'll wait and see what it feels like. But I love walking around with it. I like being able to just free myself from the office here and walk around the house and use it. I have found it extremely productive. When I'm working in a document in Google Docs or just doing things which are web related. I installed the secure shell, which you can install with a web link. In fact, if you type SSH in that crush in that Chrome OS shell, it'll actually give you the link to download the secure shell into Chrome OS. Again, without having to go into the developer options, without having to screw with it if you like. Am I allowed to say that on television or on the radio?
Yes.
Anyway,
by the way, we're at the break. But by the way, the Great Suspender does work on the Mac on my version of Chrome. I just installed it. All right, there you go. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then Marcel Gagné will take a sip of wine, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Computer America Show. It's our all Linux show tonight. Stay with us. We've got lots more coming up.
Broadcasting live. It's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America. Hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Oh, yes, I'm the great... hello and welcome into Hour 2 of the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben. 1956? Really? You're going to read me out for that? 1956.
Well, I wasn't born yet in 1956.
I know what but you grew up with people who that catchy song just came out. No, what? I don't know.
Dude, I listen to music from the present, past, and future, I might add. Okay, maybe not from the future, but I listen to music from every time period. You should expand your horizons, big guy.
That's right.
Do you have a subscription? I feel like I'm advertising Google tonight. I'm really not. I swear I am not advertising Google. But do you have a subscription to Slacker Radio or Google Play Music?
Slacker? No, Spotify personally.
Yeah. I have one to Songza.
Okay, is that like a subscription where you can call up any song you want at any time?
No, Songza just basically they pick the list for you, but they have genres and different collections that you can subscribe to.
Okay. Well, the thing with Slacker Radio and Google Play Music is that if I feel like listening to old Rolling Stones or something like that, I can call up any song I want. I realize not every song in the entire universe is actually in their catalog, but there are millions of songs in the catalog, so I can pick and choose at any given moment what song I want to listen to. You remember Guardians of the Galaxy?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay. Remember he had the Awesome Mix Volume 1, Awesome Mix 1, that tape that he carried around with him? Well, I went on Google Play Music, and I assembled a playlist called Awesome Mix Number 1, which had all those songs on it. and I downloaded it to my Moto G, and I'll go for a walk at lunchtime or something like that, or after I drop the kids off and I'm walking back from dropping them off at school. I'll be walking and listening to the things I've downloaded to my phone, including in this case Awesome Mix Number 1. But my point is that you can just call up anything you wanted at a moment's notice. It's fascinating. I love it. But you wanted to wrap up the Chromebook. You wanted to wrap it up, right?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Well, the wrap up is I think it's a great little device, and for the money, it can't be beat. And if you're okay with the idea that you're not going to load, and again, I don't care about Windows anyway, but I do want to talk to the Windows users out there. If you're okay with the idea that you're not going to load commercial packages like Microsoft Office or even for that matter LibreOffice, the open source version of that, or external packages that aren't available through the Google ecosystem, it's fantastic. I can't recommend it too highly, and it's quiet and cool. It's nice. I'm done.
Right.
Now we have more topics we can talk about, but also we have some email questions.
Yes, email. I love email.
You want to do some email?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you have an email question that you thought was in relation to a video that you made about setting up Minecraft.
Oh yes. Well, somebody sent me an email and said, can you answer that for me? And I said, so I'll answer it on the show. If you want to post the link, have you got the link in the chat room there for the YouTube video?
No.
I have it.
Okay. There's a Minecraft Personal Edition. That's the one that you get on an iOS device or an Android device. And if you've got a Linux system, you can do it on a Windows system. It kind of sucks on a Windows system. So you really have to be running a Linux system to actually do this. You can run a server, and we talked about, I think it was in December, maybe it was in January. But you can run a server for your kids, which costs you essentially nothing. It'll run on a Linux box somewhere. Obviously, you have to have a Linux box running somewhere, and it's your own. You can control access to it. You can make sure that it's just for your kids and their friends at school, or you can open it up to the world for that matter. It doesn't really matter. But it's just a matter of going to the site and downloading copying the command line in Linux and just running it, and you install it and you run it. It prompts you, it asks you what language you want to run in, all these sorts of things, and boom, you have a Minecraft server, and you connect to it using a Pocket Edition client on a tablet. What the person was asking, what they were saying is, I can't connect to the server. I followed every step that you did, and I need help. Can you help me, please? And I kind of figured that one out pretty much instantly. There are a couple of distributions. If you go to the pocketmine.net website, caller or email person out there, if you go to the pocketmine.net website, you'll see that there are two different builds out there. There's something called a beta build, and there's something called a development build. The beta build is the so-called stable build. The development build tries to keep up with wherever the heck the Minecraft PE client happens to be at the moment. The problem is that Minecraft on the tablet has been going through a lot of changes at the moment. It's been going through an alpha cycle, and a lot of people have been downloading the alpha version of the Minecraft client. And if you wanted to load the latest Minecraft client, and I think it's just gone officially into beta now, so this isn't so much a big deal anymore, unless of course you decided to go with the beta build as opposed to the development build. The development build will only work with the latest version of the Minecraft client, and that's the real problem. You've got a working server, everything about it works, but the reason you can't connect to it is because your client doesn't match the version that you're running. And if you've got the latest version of the client and you decided to run the so-called stable build, and they have a stable build on there, it's not going to work. Okay, you're going to have to run the development build or upgrade the client on your tablet. It's really that simple. It's just a mismatch of the versions that you're running.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, just you can still follow the same steps. Your procedure wasn't wrong. It was just a very easy to make error in downloading the wrong thing. Exactly.
That's really all there's to it, and it's an awesome thing to do. I think you should do it. Somebody says you've got mail. I have no idea what they're talking about. Did somebody send mail to Computer America?
No. He was. You were excited about the mail. I'm sure the "You've got mail" is the old AOL. You've got mail.
The old AOL. You've got mail. Yeah. So which actually brings up games. Shall we jump into games since we're talking games?
Sure.
All right, let's jump into games. We're all over the place. I just want to point out that I get distracted easily. I shiny objects catch my attention. I'm a guy. What can I tell you? But let's talk about games just for a moment. Partly, I haven't actually gotten into the Steam thing. I haven't. I haven't done it at
Really?
all. I'm serious. I haven't. But I started playing with it precisely because I installed the Netrunner OS, Ozymandias. Excuse me. And because it was there, I got a Steam account. I set up a Steam account, and I started, trying out different games on it. And I have to say that, it's actually pretty cool. And it works incredibly well on the Linux client. Now, Craig is going to hate this. I know he's going to hate this because it runs on Java.
Ah!
I can forgive them for that because Steam does run really well.
It does run really well. I know Craig hates Java, just like there are a couple of people in the chat room who were swearing and cussing at the top of their lungs when I mentioned Flash. Okay, maybe it wasn't quite that bad, but Flash must die. It's like, no, Flash is already...
They weren't fans. They weren't fans.
Yeah, no, Flash is already dead. It's kind of like the TV show, the zombies and so forth. You just got to keep hacking away at it, and eventually it'll go away. But yeah, Steam is fantastic, and I tried a couple of games, and one of the since we're talking about Minecraft, one of the ones I've actually started playing with, which I think is really kind of cool, is something called StarMade.
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 All right.
I've been enjoying the whole Minecraft experience, but I'm a science fiction guy. Okay. I like science fiction shows. I like spaceships. I like lasers. I like going into space. I like visiting other planets and so forth. And you can't do that in Minecraft. You can build a spaceship. Sure, you can build a spaceship replica. I mean, you can, and you can even have it sitting in thin air, in the air, so to speak. If you build up a tower of blocks to it, and then you knock out all the blocks, it'll sit there in the air and just keep on floating. But it's not the same thing. You can't actually get in it and go shoot things. I'm not a violent guy, but if I've got a spaceship with lasers, I want to shoot things. Okay? Don't you?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And
that's not Minecraft we're watching, is it?
Minecraft is great for creating, but for actual adventure, you're kind of left to your imagination.
Yeah. So StarMade is actually I'm told that if you go into the forums and you refer to it as Minecraft in space, people will kill you. They will find out where you live. They will track you down, and they will pelt eggs at your windows. Because let's face it, they're just gamers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like a little bit like Minecraft in space.
Well, it's a sandbox game in the sense that you've got a variety of blocks. You start with a core. You start with like an engine core on which you build up your little spaceship. And there's a really cool tutorial that walks you through about how you're supposed to get used to it. I will tell you right now, if you're a Minecraft fan, that the build and place buttons are switched. Okay, so if you're used to the left mouse button, right mouse button thing, they're opposite. Okay, so don't freak out. And I'm just telling you that now.
Control panel. You can fix it in your control panel, right?
Yeah, maybe you can. I don't know. I haven't bothered trying, but I've just sort of gotten used to it. But it's kind of neat, and what's neat about it is you've got derelict spaceships and space stations out there. You can download spaceship models if you don't want to go through the process of building something. You don't want to take time. You can. It's a multiplayer thing. You can actually run your own server. Again, you can run your own local server. You don't have other people join on it. You can build spaceships. You can build every kind of spaceship that you want, and people have already gone to the trouble of building these spaceships. So you can just download them basically. And,
man, even the tutorial they had Planet Express delivery ship.
Isn't that cool? Isn't that awesome? There's the Enterprise out there. There's this Star Destroyers. I mean,
some stuff from Andromeda. Everything.
Nine quadrillion galaxies. That's a lot of galaxies.
Yeah.
I don't know how many galaxies there are in the real universe, but yeah, it's a lot of. But it's cool, and of course, you can collect resources and build things, and you can attack other things and blow them up and collect their resources, and it's everything that it's everything that Minecraft stops being for me after a while. as much as I enjoy the environment in Minecraft, building things, running around, facing foes and so forth, I love the idea of flying in something, of being in control. And maybe it's because I'm a pilot, I don't know, or maybe it's just I'm a science fiction geek. But that was my first big experience with Steam, and it was all because I loaded this distribution that had Steam pre-installed. So Ben.
Mm-hmm.
When you were asking about, is it just a skin or something like that, the very fact that they distribute, that they build a distribution with packages that they like, that they think you should have, that they think you should experience, is a gateway to trying these things out.
He's not letting it go, Ben. So. Okay.
No, fair point. Not everyone is going to agree that the Steam client is necessary, but someone like myself, that's just a great place to find, really the best place to find games on Linux is through Steam, because you not only do you get like a lot of games that are that were originally only for Windows, now you can get them on Linux all over the place, but then you get access to great games like StarMade and plenty of other stuff that you can only get through Steam. I mean, I think it's required software, and I'm glad that
absolutely.
That you found a distribution that thought that as well.
And I'm sorry that I'm sorry that I wasn't on last night, because up until we've still got like 45 minutes. Steam has a big sale. If you go on to Steam right now, they've got a bunch of discounted packages. Some of them are dirt cheap, like $1.99 for a game, or $2 for a game or something. It's great. You should go check it out. There's another one I loaded up. I'm trying somebody's. I'm not going to worry about it right now, but it's definitely worth checking out. And since you mentioned Windows games,
mm-hmm.
You're actually moving into something else I want to talk about this distribution I loaded up. Something that comes with this particular distribution is something called Play on Linux, and it's a version of Wine. Remember, you've heard about Wine. Have we talked about Wine on the show before?
Yep.
That's Linux distribution.
The Windows emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, except that Wine stands for Wine is not an emulator.
Okay.
WINE. Wine is not an emulator. I know. Anyway, Wine. Sorry, I'm losing it here. Wine is meant to be it's meant to be a layer. It's not an emulator, it's a layer through which Windows applications can run on Linux. So it's not an emulator in the sense that you're actually not emulating Windows, you're actually not running Windows. You take real honest-to-God Windows applications and you load them on Linux. And because Windows applications make certain API calls and calls to the operating system that obviously aren't available on Linux, Wine sort of stands in the way, captures those particular calls and those particular requirements and transfers them to the Linux operating system, which then does its job. Right? So that's why Wine is not an emulator. That's why it works a little bit differently. Okay. And there are commercial versions of Wine, like Codeweavers makes it spectacular. Codeweavers is a company, codeweavers.com or .org. It's probably codeweavers.com, but they produce a slick packaged version of Wine, like fine-tuned, tweaked, that lets you run a lot of Windows applications directly on your Linux system without having to run an emulator or without having to run a virtual machine. Because of course you could run a Windows virtual machine in something like VirtualBox. But anyway, on Netrunner distributes it with something called Play on Linux, PLAYONLINUX, which is a tuned version of Wine specifically for gamers. Okay, for Windows games, so you can load Windows games, and if you open it up and you say, what do you want to run? Now it'll run a lot of other things, and but I can pop it up and I can say, oh, look, there's Age of Empires too. I don't know, Alien Swarm, this Assassin's Creed,
StarCraft,
Baldur's Gate. Are you looking at this? Is that what you're doing at the moment?
Oh no, not personally. Just kind of thinking of names off the top of my head that were exclusively Windows, but now they don't have to be.
Well, StarCraft is here as well. StarCraft, Wings of Liberty. And in fact, if you were insane. If you were completely insane, you can even install the Windows Steam client. on Play on Linux. Now, why you would want to do that, I'm not entirely sure, but it is one of the things that you can. I mean, there are literally hundreds. My son, my 8-year-old son, will slap me about the head and body if I don't correct myself here. Literally is the wrong word. Actually is the right word. Literally implies that it's written down. All right. So for my son, my 8-year-old son, who may be listening to this later, I apologize. I meant actually. Actually, there are tons of games in here, and if you click install on Play on Linux, you'll see that there are things like accessories, development, education programs. There are tons of things, but where it excels, where it's really pushing the envelope, is for the games. All the different Windows games. So there you go. Once again, a Linux distribution that's been fine-tuned by the people who built it to offer things that they thought were special. And in this case, obviously, they like to play games. I'm going to have a sip of my wine now.
And I'm glad that they have given that attention, because Steam is an up-and-coming hardware developer as well. Like they just started putting out some consoles. They've announced some Steam boxes. And Gabe Newell is a huge fan of the Linux operating system, a huge fan of open source and all that implies, and he's been a huge backer of it. So the partnership between Linux and Steam isn't going away. If anything, it's just going to get better and better over the coming years and months.
And in fact, there are Steam Linux boxes being built and distributed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's going to be exciting, and I fear that having discovered this, I will. Another aspect of my limited productivity is just going down the tubes. I'm gonna have to find a new job. How can I make money playing games?
You're not alone in that, especially with the Steam Monster Summer Sale going on right now. So, by the way, 3 more days on that. So.
Oh, is it 3 more days? I thought it was over today.
Nope, 3 more days until the 21st.
Oh, awesome! I'm gonna have to spend more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, cool. There you go. Sorry. Anyway, Craig, you were going to say something.
No, actually, the question was answered, so that was fine.
Oh, okay.
So, again, I mean, so much that. Okay, I'm just getting distracted here by the chat.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
No.
So we've covered the Chromebook. We're covered Steam and all this kind of stuff. Where do you want to go from here? Would you like to jump?
Well, you mentioned Chromixium. We got confused. You mentioned Chromixium.
Mm-hmm.
I started looking at that one as I mentioned the Tails distribution, so we already talked about that one. I also mentioned Chromixium. It was it's one of the links that I have, and in fact I know you've got it in the show notes at the moment.
Yes.
What is interesting about it? What they have tried to do there, if you take a look at the screenshots, if you go and you take a look at the screenshots, they have tried to capture in a Linux distribution. This is actually, it's actually a Linux distribution based on Ubuntu. And if you go and take a look at one of the screenshots, Craig, if you go and take a look on the side and you take a look at the one that's got the open menu there, and you compare that, go to the open menu one, and you compare that to, that's the one, and you compare that to the picture that you had of the Chromebook earlier, you'll see that they're basically mimicking it to a T.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are.
They have recognized, the people who are working on distribution have recognized that there is something to be said for the simplicity of the Chromebook interface, especially since Chromebooks have become so insanely popular. No one believed that these things were going to take off the way that they had. I didn't believe that they were going to take off the way that they had. And you got to remember, I'm a guy that would love to see any kind of a Linux product, do well. Android obviously is a Linux product, but the Chromebook, it's like, Linux on the desktop, really? Is that ever going to? We've been joking about Linux on the desktop for ever. 1990 is going to be the year of the Linux. Well, not 1990, but 2000 is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. 2001 is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. 2002 is going to be 2012 is going to be the year of the Linux desktop. We've been saying it every freaking year, I didn't swear. I said fricking. Every fricking year we've been saying it. It's a joke even among the Linux community. It's a joke. Oh yeah, the Linux desktop is really going to take off now. People are going to see the error of their ways running Windows, and they're going to be running Linux desktops. And then all of a sudden, Google, with their billions of dollars, and people just hammering away at 1,000 projects simultaneously, have come up with this really pretty awesome and frightfully simple platform, in an inexpensive package, and it's taken off. I don't know that any of us would have predicted. I don't know. Would you have predicted it, Craig or Ben?
No, I wouldn't. Although anything that Google does, it doesn't surprise me because
Google does a lot of stuff that, and really we hear all the time. Like we do news stories where sometimes you hear about a Google project where it's the first time you're hearing about them, but the first time you hear about them is so-and-so project from Google is shutting down. It's like they have so many side projects going on. The ones that aren't a hit, you just don't hear about. But this one, I mean, Chromebooks came out in a market where everyone was going more expensive, better computer, and then they come out with this thing that is lackluster hardware, very, very small, tiny operating system, but people can't get enough of it.
And it boots up in 10 seconds flat. 10 seconds! It's off, and 10 seconds later the thing is running. That's awesome. Anyway, sorry. So Chromixium is a Linux distribution. It's a full-blown Linux distribution that you can you can download the ISO, you can burn it to a DVD and run it and try it out, and it mimics beautifully, in fact, the Chromebook interface. So if you happen to like that minimalist look, and let's be honest, it is a minimalist look, but it's also strangely appealing and and nice to look at. They've got it down to a T. They've done a great job with it. I really have to hand it to them. So that would be one that I would suggest that people give it a try.
But what if people you're running Chromixium and then you need all the other things? Can you get that through?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you answered the question. So,
so it's not just limited to what you can do on the Chrome OS. You can make it even more robust because ideally you would be running this on a different on a more robust computer.
Well, and it is, like I said, it is a full-blown Linux distribution, so it does have access to the catalog of thousands of applications.
It's just hidden away. But and you can bring out what you need when you need it. Exactly.
And I know that Ben used that expression "skin," but skin means let's be honest. I mean, skin means an awful lot because I don't even want to think about the hundreds of millions of dollars that go into user experience and user interface design. If it wasn't a big deal, there wouldn't be so many resources dedicated to trying to come up with an environment which people find easy to work in. I think we've barely scratched the surface of that. I suspect that there will come a time where we freely move from using the keyboard to using voice to using any to using gestures, to using whatever it is, to touching the screen, for instance. It's too bad this little Chromebook doesn't have a touch screen, but I suspect we're going to get to the point where these things are all fluid. They all work together. There are times when nothing beats typing. I mean, especially if you're a writer. If you can type. I mean, I type about 120 words a minute, and there are times when nothing beats typing. He's still 8 years old. He just turned 8. My son just turned 8. My youngest just turned 8, and I sat down at a computer and I used a control sequence to pop up a console, and I just typed a bunch of things in it, and fired stuff up. And he said, "How do you do that?" Because he clicks, he points and he clicks and he touches things and so forth. It's like, well, I know all the, I know the key sequences, the control key sequences to pop up a menu or pop up an application, and I can type fast.
Yeah. like a lot of research, millions of dollars, a lot of man hours, a lot of psychologists, a lot of people from all different professions, not just nerds. Everyone from every profession has tried to say, this keyboard is the best keyboard ever. This touchscreen is the best interface ever. Like, people spend a lot of time and a lot of resources, but I don't think there's ever going to be one the best. I think there's going to be, just like you were saying earlier, there's going to be a touchscreen solution for when touchscreen is obviously going to be the best. There's going to be voice command. There's going to be gesture control. There's going to be typing. It's when you can freely choose from any of those that you feel is the best for you. That is definitely where computers, are heading. Because why not at this point?
Well, when I'm writing, I find that I think and work a lot faster if I'm actually using my fingers, if I'm actually typing. But I also love the fact that if I've got a tablet or if I've got my phone, if I've got my Android phone with me, I can just touch that little microphone icon and just talk.
Mm-hmm.
Now you want to double check what it thinks you said before you push that send button. But because
in a lot of trouble that way. Yeah.
Sometimes it comes up with some interesting translation.
The fun way to do it is to go to Google, and press the little microphone, say what you want to search for, and then just press "I'm feeling lucky" and see what you get. That's the true way.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's not bother looking, to the second or third page of Google. I don't even want to look at the first thing. I just want you to drop me into a page.
All right, we're at the bottom of the hour. We're doing our All Linux show with Marcel Gagné.
Time flies.
Yes, exactly. It does fly. We're having a lot of fun. Give us a call, 347-884-8881. We'd love to hear from you. We've got a news tips pulled review from Marty Winston coming up. This is the Computer America Show. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. You have important meetings to schedule. Your company's getting ready for its IPO, and you're in charge of the PTA fundraiser this month. So how do you coordinate everyone to be available at the same time? Are you still using emails, phone calls, even text messages to schedule meetings with a group of people? How's that working out for you? Not so great, huh? It's a fact that every day, millions of people suffer from scheduling headaches. Well, with Doodle, scheduling meetings with a group of people is quick and easy. With Doodle, you can easily propose available times to each member. Each one checks off the times that they're available, and then you simply pick the time that works best for the group, all in an easy-to-read display that integrates with your existing calendar. Nothing could be more simple. Give Doodle a try for free, and like millions of Doodle users, you'll truly see how easy it is to find the perfect date and time for all your meetings. That's www.doodle.com.
Hey, do your parents know you're here? Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, iFixit spudgers and picks. Did you ever need to open the case on a piece of gear that was designed to discourage any user ever opening it? From the den of metaphorical safe-cracking tools of iFixit.com, we got in 3 beauties to review. The spudger is a plastic stick, pointy at one end and bladed like a flat screwdriver at the other, with a small hook gap along one side of the blade. With it, small holes and skinny gaps become a fair starting point for the process of separating case halves. A large, heavy-duty spudger helps with slightly larger gaps, like the ones we always see that are just a little too small to fit a screwdriver. The iFixit opening picks have about the same footprint as a guitar pick, but they're thicker, except at the three corners, which taper down to rounded blades that are very adept at slicing into the adhesive that holds many cases together. Bottom line, the iFixit spudger, heavy-duty spudger, and opening picks are great prosecutors for reopening closed cases. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
Welcome back to the Computer America Show. Just going out there and looking at the spudger myself. That Marty Winston was just talking about. That was his News Tips Bulletin review. Again, you'll hear that again last night, and you'll hear that again tomorrow night. There we go. But right now, we are in our final leg of our All Linux show with Marcel Gagné, and we've talked, or at least we've covered a lot of topics. An email here or there, along with Steam and Chromebooks and blah 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 blah. So where to go from here? And just kind of looking through some of the topics that you suggested to us. How about the Raspberry Pi? Because that's a great hobbyist tool, and we haven't touched on that one yet.
Oh,
Nope.
so you're muted.
Oh no, the mute button.
We have to unmute you.
I was not the one who muted me in the
Oh,
first place.
crap.
I just want to point that out. I would think, gentlemen, that if you mute me, that you can unmute me.
Yeah, you would hope so. You'd hope so.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. I was possessed. Do you like my little friend here?
Yeah, is that Yorick, right?
Yorick.
Yorick.
Actually, in this case, this isn't Yorick. I don't actually want to tell you who this is, but
Statute of limitations not up yet.
he has glowing eyes, though. Check this out. Okay. Okay, sorry. I don't have a Pi yet. A Pi is actually a really interesting device. Raspberry Pi. It's this little tiny, and I did the link that I gave you there I thought was interesting because a buddy of mine was down in the States, and and because he was down in the States, I hate you guys with your cheap prices. He was able to get himself like 4 Raspberry Pis, like for essentially nothing. Although, to be perfectly fair, Raspberry Pis cost virtually nothing. So he's got he bought 4 of these things so he could build all these little projects. You remember we were talking about the $9 computer last time?
Yes,
well, Raspberry Pi isn't quite a $9 computer, but it's still dirt cheap. It's this wonderful hacker's dream, and I don't mean hacker in, the bad way. I mean hacker in the good old-fashioned, I want to learn how things work, and I want to try to make them do neat things and extend them. And so, the next thing I'd like to try to do, and, maybe next month when we talk again, I'll have, gone insane and bought myself a couple of Pis to play with. Okay. We'll find out.
All right.
We'll find out. But that's another way to actually experience Linux in open source, and not just open source, but obviously open hardware in this case. You've got this little tiny computer, and I mean these things are tiny. They're a couple of inches long, and they've got USB ports and Wi-Fi and wireless connectors and and video connectors, and they're ready to basically plug into whatever project you want to do. And I found this link that I was taking a look at, 12 Raspberry Pi projects and uses, cool things you can do with it. And, because it's such an inexpensive little device, and of course a lot of these projects are going to run, various Linux distributions, because let's face it, the software is free to download and free to install. There's some really neat things. Somebody's got like a Game Boy project. You build yourself a Game Boy. A home arcade box for some old games. I mentioned the idea of Linux distributions that were finally, that were tuned to to set-top boxes, like television set-top boxes, like a Roku, for instance, or Apple TV. But what if you want something that you've got complete control over? It's I have a Roku. I have a Roku, which which I used to think was pronounced Roku, but but I have a Roku at home, and I love my Roku.
You own it. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
I own it. I can call it whatever I like. Well, actually, the embarrassing thing, of course, is I went to the store to buy one, and I say, and the person said, "Can I help you with something?" I said, "Yes, I want to rock you." Guy looked at me.
And unfortunately, his name was Hurricane, so it was very awkward.
Rock you like a hurricane. The guy looked at the guy looked at me and it's like, what? I said, one of those little set-top rock. He goes, oh, you mean a Roku? I just want to point out that a Roku actually runs Linux. So Linux is, I think sometimes it behooves us all to consider just how incredibly pervasive and ubiquitous Linux is. Linux is so successful that you don't even know that you run it every single day of your life. People say, well, I don't see Linux anywhere. I've got Windows, but I also have an Android phone, and I've got a Roku, and I've got a Nest thermometer, and I've got, and I search on Google, and I buy things off Amazon, using Linux all the time. You can't work in the connected world in the internet without running Linux. It is the most popular, most pervasive, most installed operating system in the world. If you think Windows has an impact, and it's nothing compared to the amount of Linux that's out there. Anyway, there you go. That's my Linux is everywhere thing. But anyway, so Roku runs Linux as well. But if you wanted a box that was fully under your control, you could get yourself a little Raspberry Pi and load a distribution that is specifically for providing video and multimedia content. To me it's kind of the next step in terms of having something, having a Linux distribution that you can play with, because you're creating little custom hardware. Not only can you, oh, I see a dog out there. Ben's playing with a dog.
Yeah, sorry, he called my lap, and he really should not. But what do you got?
Anyway, not only because it's such an inexpensive piece of hardware, you can create these little custom devices, that are truly fine-tuned to whatever application it is you want to run. What was that?
My bad. I accidentally hit it. No, but like, I've heard so many cool stories about the Raspberry Pi that it's really the first time it's given a lot of do-it-yourselfers the ability to do things that that they've always thought about doing, that they've always wanted to do, but they didn't want to pay a company to come out and spend a couple $1,000s to, let's say, hook up your pool pump to your to your internet so that you can turn on and turn off your pool pump any time that you want. Like, let's say if you were out of the country, you could control your pool pump. Like, that would be prohibitively costly, but now you can do it yourself with a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and of course you can create these things that have one function, but it costs you almost nothing to do it. They've got, like I said, this list that I provided here. A media center for your television, wirelessly control your stereo. Build your own NAS, build your own game server, a Minecraft. Hey, we were talking about Minecraft. Build a Minecraft machine for your kids. One of my favorite ones here, and of course, if you've got a 3D printer, you can 3D print, all sorts of custom cases for these things. But one of the things I like here is create your own cloud server. Your own cloud-based storage system, and they build the boxes out of Lego. So you buy these little custom chips, these little Raspberry Pi computers. You load up Linux on it. You build any kind of architecture that you want, and you build a box out of Lego. I mean, how much fun is that?
A lot of fun.
That is the ultimate do-it-yourself.
I think that's one of the things I think that's one of the things I enjoy the most about about working with Linux and doing things like that is is that you can literally do anything you want. You can, you know, and some of these things are so incredibly geeky, and you think, you know, there's no great use for these things, but who cares? You know, it's about learning. It's about stretching your muscles, your mental muscles.
Speaking of learning, we actually just had a company on the show 2 nights ago, Zaniac, and they run like an after-school care program / summer camp where kids go to learn. And one of the courses that they give, and again, this is all kindergarten through 8th grade, one of the courses they give is actually on Raspberry Pi. And
oh,
you know,
really?
they give each kid their own Raspberry Pi, and they teach them how to do things and you know, and actually use them.
That's really cool.
It is cool. Yeah, it is.
And of course, remember, if you install a Linux distribution, you don't have to pay for a graphical development environment. There are tons of languages out there that you can download and install on them. You can, if you want to learn Python, great. If you want to learn Ruby on Rails, great. If you want to learn C++, great. You know, all these things are available for a download, and it doesn't cost you extra. So not only did you get yourself a frightfully cheap little computer, you know, $20. What does a Raspberry Pi cost? You can get one for like $20, I'm told. Is that right? Somebody look that up.
I'm looking up right now.
But you know, they're frightfully inexpensive, so you can you know, set up a machine, you know, so that you can learn programming, and of course all the tools that you need to be able to do that are free.
Exactly. Well, you know, so you think the next time you come on the show, you'll get a Raspberry Pi. Okay.
I'll see what I can do. That means I actually have to spend money and order one, but yeah, I might just do that.
Okay. You don't want to screen that, Ben? Okay.
Hey, you know what? We'll take it out in post.
Okay. All right. We got a caller, Computer America, Craig Crossman. Hey, caller, what's up?
Hi. Hello there.
Hi. How are you?
Hello there. Good evening.
Welcome to the show. What can we do for you?
Yes, John. Hi, it's John Kerr calling in.
Hi, John.
I've got one of those new Raspberry Pis, and I was able to install a version of Ubuntu on it, the XFCE version.
Okay, right.
And it's just like having a new computer. It just runs great.
And again, that's on a Raspberry Pi. Like you aren't experiencing any kind of limitations because it's a rather, you know, basic computer, really, isn't it?
It is. There are some problems. Occasionally, some websites will make it crash. I don't know why, but the good news is it's also a very quick reboot. You know, in about 5-10 seconds, you're back up and running. So there is the situation where if you're working on something, you better make sure you save your work often, and but the crashes don't happen too often. What I have found is that it's a great little computer for doing LaTeX, or what they call LaTeX, which is a document preparation system that's free and source, and all the software comes through Linux quite easily. And yeah, I really like it.
Which one do you have? Do you have the original Pi, or did you get a Pi 2?
I've got two of them. I've got the original Raspberry Pi, and that was very limited in what it could do as far as surfing the internet and stuff like that goes. In fact, it couldn't even run Gmail. But I've got the brand new Raspberry Pi, and you could use that as a full-blown computer.
Well, I asked you that because when you said that it was lagging it sometimes, I actually just went on raspberrypi.org, and the Pi 2, just in case anybody was wondering, is $35. $35. It's a 900 megahertz quad-core ARM processor. It's got 1 gigabyte SD RAM. It says 2x memory on there. Complete compatibility with the original, but it says it says can run the full range of ARM Linux distributions, including Snappy Ubuntu Core and even Microsoft Windows 10. Not that we actually want anybody out there listening tonight to run Microsoft Windows 10, but the point is, it's a pretty peppy little system at that point. You know, if you're talking about the Pi 2, John.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it is. One thing the listeners may want to consider is hunt down old cell phone chargers, because that is what you can use to power them. And
are we talking like USB chargers here?
Yeah, the USB, the little mini USB plug at the phone end, and of course there's a plug that goes into the wall at the other end.
That's a good
tip. But the old
but you got to be careful that some of them are different amperages, and you want to be careful you don't fry your Raspberry Pi.
You know, but that seems to be more of a problem, Craig, with you know, older devices where, you know, the voltages seem to change dramatically. I actually just picked up a little gadget, you know, John, that you plug into an outlet, and it actually provides 4 powered USB ports. And like in my house, I've got 2 kids, and so, you know, each of them has their own tablet, and of course the parents each have to have their own tablets, because, you know, we sit around on the couch and all surf the web together. But anyway, so we actually use these things to, you know, to charge our phones and our tablets, and I don't think it really matters anymore, Craig. I think it was the older devices where this was a problem.
Possibly.
I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I'm just, you know.
Well, John, listen. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for calling in, but we need to finish up. But thank you for calling us and letting us know about that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Yeah. We'll see you back in the chat room.
Thank you, John.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
First-hand testimonial of the Raspberry Pi.
All right. Well, I may just break down and give it a try then. All right. All right, that'll be my test for next month. I'll pick up a Raspberry Pi, and maybe I'll see if I can actually do the show on damn thing.
$35 is a huge investment for a computer, but might be worth it.
What was that? What was one? Who? I think it was you, Marcel. Right? It was like a $9 computer.
That's right. That's right. We talked about that on the last show. I brought that up on the last show. A $9 computer.
And it had a lot of. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, Sorry, go ahead, please.
Not as much as on the Raspberry Pi, maybe, but it had a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, it's actually kind of amazing that you can pack so much into these little devices. And of course, these, you know, a lot of these little pieces of hardware now, you know, and they're all like, even the hardware is kind of open hardware. You know, they've built it in such a way that, you know, absolutely every aspect of the hardware, you can tweak it, you can play with it. I know this is the Linux show, and I know we talk Linux, but in the Linux world, almost as important as, you know, the operating system is the whole concept of open. You know, open APIs, open source technology, open hardware, open design, the whole crux on which all this stuff is balanced is we need to know how all these things work so that we can build on all these things, so that we can use all these things. And so that means open document formats, open graphics formats, open audio formats, open video formats. Everything is open. That's the magic word, O-P-E-N, open. And, you know, baby, the future is open. So it's important. So you've got this little $9 computer. You've got, you know, these Raspberry Pi systems, and if you spend any time whatsoever looking on Indiegogo, or you take any time and you take a look at some of the projects that people are working on what's the other one? Kickstarter.
GoFundMe or Indiegogo or Kickstarter.
I was actually thinking Kickstarter. I can't believe I'd forgotten Kickstarter. Yep. Indiegogo seems to be the place where anything I've funded always seems to be an Indiegogo for some reason. I haven't funded anything on Kickstarter. And actually, was the Pebble on Kickstarter? Or was it Indiegogo?
Yeah, no, it was Kickstarter. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so I did fund at least one thing on Kickstarter because I funded the Pebble. Anyway, you know, all these different projects, part of what they rely on is the idea that they have access to open technology. Even the Pebble watch. Craig in the chat room there was talking about the idea that, you know, they've signed on to get themselves a Pebble Time. I am so envious, Craig. I am terribly envious. I want a Pebble Time, but I have an original Pebble. I actually funded the Kickstarter for the original Pebble. Well, I didn't fund it myself. I'm one of the people who funded it. But it's it's a cool device, but it's open source. It's built on open source. It's built on open standards. The success of the hardware, of the Pebble hardware, the success of the Raspberry Pi hardware is based on the idea that it's open standards, that everybody can get in on the action and create things for it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that people can't design watch faces for the stupid Apple Watch. Like, honestly, really?
That's a feature that they're changing in like the next patch or update or whatever they're doing.
What brain came up with the idea that it was a good idea not to make it possible to load up?
They have an app
faces?
store and everything. It wouldn't be hard.
Like,
but they're fixing it. They're fixing it.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, no, open is important. Open standards, open technology, the ability to help with that. And honestly, I truly believe that that's what makes a lot of these projects successful. And as much as we might joke about the idea that, hey, the Linux desktop didn't quite make it, yeah, it's finally made it, and and Android is out there everywhere. Linux is everywhere. Open is important, and I think people care about that.
No, I'm surprised you don't have an Apple Watch yet.
You know what? I don't have Apple stuff. I actually have I have to admit, I have a copy of Windows here. Because I am a computer consultant, and
it's Windows 3.1. Come on, tell us, or maybe Windows 90.
Well, I probably have DVD or CDs back there that I probably have discs for Windows 3.1. Although I think you can actually download you can legitimately download them now, can't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Windows 3.1. Yeah. Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Windows 10 is going to be a radically different kind of animal.
Yeah. So I mean, I do have a copy, but I would never use it as my day-to-day system. Yeah. It's like. It's not my daily driver. But yeah, open is important, and it's what the future is. It's where we're going.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're just about to finish here. What is this Linus Torvalds wants a holiday?
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that, because Linus Torvalds is obviously is the father of Linux, and he has been at the helm of the. You got to remember, Linux. Linux is not the whole operating system. We talk about a Linux distribution. Linux is the kernel. It's the core. In Windows term, it's command.com. That's actually what Linux is. It's what talks to all the devices, all the hardware, makes it possible for everything to, it's the brains. It's the of the operating system. But Linux is not everything. But nevertheless, it's what makes it possible for a computer to run all these other open source things. I know there's GNU herd out there, and I'm and I'm not even going there right now. But anyway, but Linux is it. But Linus Torvalds has been at the helm of Linux since it came out on August 25th, 1991. And why do I know that date? Well, because I'm a Linux geek, for one thing. But it also happens to be my wedding anniversary. I was married on August 25th, 1991. I just want to point that out. So it's exactly the same date. On that date, Linus sent out an email saying, hey, I just came up with this project. It's not going to be anything special. It's never going to run any big hardware. But hey, you might want to have a look at it. And of course, the genius was opening it up to the world and letting everybody else contribute. But he's been at the helm of the project since it came out. So this guy's been doing this for what is it? It's 2015, so it's 24 years. This guy's been doing this for almost 24 years now. Every update to the Linux kernel goes through this guy. Wow. Everything to this day. This guy should be a billionaire. He's not, because he opened it up to the world. And that's why he's some kind of awesome. But he put out this thing where it's like I want to take a break. I need a holiday. I want to take a break. And of course, everybody's panicking out there. Oh my God, what does this mean? And of course, he's out there trying to reassure people that, Linux is in good hands now. There are lots of people who are involved in Linux development. Intel, IBM, HP. I mean, we're talking big corporate sponsors. Yes, there are still individuals, in the open source community who contribute to the Linux kernel. But the fact of the matter is, it's a mature project that runs everything from a Linux Pi, to a supercomputer, which makes the CGI effects for the greatest Hollywood blockbusters, including Jurassic World, which I'm going to go see on July 2nd. Anyway, but he wants a break. The guy wants a break.
Hey, well, we're going to have to give. At least we'll give you one. But we're pretty much out of time. This has been a lot of fun. And we could have done a couple more hours as far as I'm concerned. It's always a lot of fun having you.
So we're going to. So stick around for another 3 hours and see what we can do.
90 seconds.
But just stay with us to the end, Marcel. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Netgear on the show. And they're going to be talking about their new around-town LTE mobile internet. A little tiny device that you can carry with you, and basically, it's your own hotspot. And it's a very cool technology. And they're going to be talking about that in the first hour. And then in the second hour, we're going to have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. Again, thanks to Marcel Gagné for being with us here tonight. And we look forward to having you next month. What's next month?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We'll have you on with next month here on the show. And all of you for being here with us tonight. And we look to see you with Netgear on tomorrow night's show. Okay? So until tomorrow night, this is Craig Crossman hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Good night, everyone.
10 seconds.
Put that skull down.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. You have a lovely voice. I just want to say that.
Again, thanks to all of you for watching us here on our Google Hangouts, our live video stream. And as I said, Netgear is going to be here tomorrow. And
you know what? I have a Netgear router. I have one that looks like a stealth fighter sitting right over there.
A Nighthawk, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, in fact, I am talking through my Chromebook to this Netgear router to you. Isn't that freaking amazing?
It is. I know. What are the odds? Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks again. And Marcel, we'll see you next month. And
we'll
see you all tomorrow night. Great job. Great show. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.